The winter at Valley Forge was brutal, with snow covering the ground and icy winds cutting through the soldiers' thin clothing. Each day felt longer than the last, and the men struggled to keep warm and alive. They had little food, and many grew weak from hunger, yet they did not give up. Their hearts were heavy with worry for their families, but they held on to hope that their sacrifice would one day bring freedom to their country. George Washington walked among them daily, his presence a reminder that they were not forgotten. He encouraged them with steady words, showing that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to keep moving forward despite it. The soldiers looked to him as a father figure, someone who shared their hardships and believed in their potential. Even when morale sank low, his calm determination inspired them to endure another day. Training was difficult and relentless. Baron von Steuben introduced new drills and routines that tested the men physically and mentally. At first, they struggled to keep pace, but slowly they began to understand the importance of discipline. The exercises built confidence, turning raw recruits into a more effective and cohesive army. Each march, each formation, and each drill was a small victory, a step toward becoming a force capable of challenging the British. Despite the harsh conditions, acts of kindness and solidarity appeared everywhere. Soldiers shared their blankets, split their meager rations, and helped the sick and wounded. Friendships deepened, and a sense of unity grew stronger with each passing day. The men learned that surviving together required more than physical strength, it required trust, loyalty, and compassion for one another. Letters from Washington to Congress reflected his constant concern. He asked for supplies, clothing, and food, knowing that the Army's survival depended on support from those far away. His leadership went beyond strategy, it was personal, heartfelt, and focused on preserving the lives and dignity of every soldier under his command. The winter tested more than just endurance, it tested character. Men discovered courage they did not know they possessed. Every day of hardship was a lesson in patience, resilience, and perseverance. The cold and hunger could not break the spirit of those who believed in a cause greater than themselves. By the time spring arrived, the army had transformed. They were stronger, more disciplined, and united. The men who had shivered through endless nights now stood ready to face their enemies with confidence. Valley Forge had forged not just soldiers, but a community bound by shared sacrifice and unwavering determination. The experience left a lasting lesson: true freedom demands sacrifice, and true strength comes from unity and perseverance. Those who endure hardship with courage can achieve remarkable things. The winter at Valley Forge remains a symbol of resilience, hope, and the unbreakable spirit of those who fight for a just cause. The days at Valley Forge were long and filled with uncertainty. Even as the harsh winter raged on, the men continued to prepare for battles that would define the future of their nation. Each morning, they woke to frozen ground and the sound of wind whistling through the trees. Despite the exhaustion and constant struggle, they stayed alert, knowing every moment mattered. Many soldiers were injured or ill, yet they refused to let despair take hold. Their commitment to the cause of independence pushed them to keep moving, step by step, no matter how difficult the path ahead seemed. Washington remained a constant presence among his men. He listened to their concerns, offered guidance, and never hid from the dangers they faced. His leadership was a steady anchor in a time of chaos. The men respected him not only for his strategy but also for his care and determination. Even small gestures, like encouraging words or personal visits to struggling soldiers, gave them strength. He reminded them that their hardships were part of a larger mission: freedom and justice for the future of America. Life at the camp required discipline beyond the training exercises. Men had to work together to build shelters, gather firewood, and share limited supplies. Every small task mattered. Soldiers learned the value of cooperation, seeing that survival depended on teamwork and careful planning. Even in the cold and scarcity, bonds of friendship grew stronger, and loyalty to one another deepened. Acts of kindness, such as sharing food or helping someone carry a heavy load, kept the spirit of the army alive. Baron von Steuben continued to train the troops, focusing on tactics and organization. He taught them new ways to march, stand in formation, and respond quickly to commands. Gradually, the men became more confident and effective, understanding that preparation was their best defense against a well-equipped enemy. Discipline turned fear into focus, and uncertainty into purpose. Letters and reports sent by Washington highlighted the Army's ongoing needs and the importance of support from Congress and local communities. His attention to every detail, from food supplies to medical care, ensured the Army could survive and grow stronger. These efforts showed that leadership involved both strategy and compassion, balancing the demands of war with the welfare of the people fighting it. By the time spring arrived, the army had grown into a resilient and capable force. They had endured suffering, built unity, and developed the skills necessary for the challenges ahead. The soldiers' courage, persistence, and sense of purpose transformed them from a struggling group into a disciplined and determined army. Valley Forge became more than a winter camp, it became a place where perseverance and teamwork proved essential to victory. The lessons learned in those cold, difficult months left a lasting legacy. True strength comes from enduring hardship, staying committed to a just cause, and supporting one another through every challenge. The cold at Valley Forge seemed endless, and every day brought new challenges. Soldiers faced icy winds, heavy snow, and mud that made moving difficult. Many were sick or injured, and food was always scarce. Despite these hardships, they continued their work, knowing that every effort mattered. Each man had a role, whether it was tending the fire, preparing meals, or helping others with chores. Even in the bitter cold, the army found ways to keep going, relying on discipline and determination to survive the harsh winter. Washington remained calm and focused, walking through the camps to encourage the men. He listened to their problems and offered practical advice. His presence gave hope, showing that their sacrifices were recognized and valued. Soldiers looked to him for guidance, and his example of endurance inspired them to keep pushing forward. Washington's leadership was not only about strategy but also about caring for the people who depended on him. He reminded them that their struggle was part of something bigger than themselves, a fight for independence and freedom. Training continued despite the freezing conditions. Von Steuben worked with small groups, drilling them in formations, marches, and military tactics. The exercises were demanding, yet the men gradually improved, gaining confidence and skill. Training brought structure to their days, helping the soldiers focus their energy and frustration into something productive. It also built trust and cooperation, as they learned to rely on one another to execute commands correctly. Every improvement, no matter how small, gave the army a sense of accomplishment and purpose. Daily life required careful planning and cooperation. Soldiers had to manage limited supplies, sharing food and clothing to ensure everyone survived. Ill men received help from others, and small acts of generosity became common. Even simple gestures, like passing blankets or assisting with chores, strengthened the bonds between comrades. The army became more than a group of soldiers, it became a community, united by hardship and shared goals. Letters from Washington continued to stress the need for supplies and support, highlighting his constant concern for the well-being of the troops. He kept meticulous records and plans, making sure that each decision contributed to the army's survival and readiness. His focus on both practical needs and morale showed that leadership required more than orders, it required empathy and dedication. As weeks passed, the army grew stronger. Soldiers learned to endure discomfort, handle their responsibilities, and support each other under extreme conditions. The cold, hunger, and fatigue could not break their determination. By the time spring arrived, they were better prepared, disciplined, and ready to face new challenges with courage and unity. Valley Forge became a place of growth, resilience, and commitment. The winter tested the soldiers' strength, patience, and resolve, teaching lessons that extended beyond the battlefield. The experience left an enduring message: courage, teamwork, and perseverance can overcome even the harshest obstacles, and shared hardships forge bonds that last a lifetime. The winter days at Valley Forge were harsh, and each morning brought new challenges. Soldiers woke to freezing temperatures and damp, frozen ground. Many were tired, hungry, and sick, yet they continued their duties without complaint. Tasks like gathering firewood, repairing shelters, and maintaining equipment were essential for survival. Even small accomplishments, like keeping a fire burning or helping a comrade, brought a sense of purpose and pride. The men learned to adapt, finding ways to endure the cold and keep moving forward, day by day. Washington remained a steady presence in the camp, visiting each group of soldiers to encourage them. He listened to their struggles and offered advice on how to manage in the harsh conditions. His calm demeanor reassured the men, showing that their efforts were seen and appreciated. Soldiers respected his leadership and drew strength from his unwavering determination. He reminded them that the hardships they faced were temporary and that their sacrifices were part of a larger mission for freedom and independence. Training continued, even in the bitter cold. Von Steuben worked closely with small groups to teach proper military drills, formations, and tactical movements. The soldiers struggled at first, but with consistent practice, they grew more confident and capable. Training gave them focus and structure, which helped to ease the monotony and stress of daily survival. It also strengthened teamwork, as each man depended on the others to perform correctly during exercises. Slowly, the army transformed from a collection of individuals into a disciplined and coordinated force. Every soldier had to contribute to daily life in the camp. Men shared food, clothing, and blankets to make sure everyone survived. Those who were sick or weak received help from their comrades. Small acts of kindness and cooperation became vital for morale. Through these actions, the army learned the importance of solidarity and trust. They realized that enduring hardship together made them stronger and more united. Letters from Washington emphasized the need for continued support and supplies. He advocated for his men, highlighting their conditions and requesting assistance from Congress and local communities. His leadership extended beyond strategy; it included care for every soldier's well-being. Washington's actions reinforced the idea that strong leadership combines practical planning with empathy, inspiring confidence and loyalty among the troops. As the weeks passed, soldiers adapted to the harsh environment and gained resilience. They became more skilled, disciplined, and ready to face challenges ahead. Their shared experience of enduring the winter together created lasting bonds. The army that emerged in the spring was stronger, more organized, and prepared for future battles. Valley Forge became a symbol of endurance, unity, and the power of shared sacrifice. The lessons learned during those difficult months taught the soldiers courage, perseverance, and commitment. The winter tested their limits, but it also forged a stronger, more determined army capable of overcoming the trials that lay ahead in the fight for freedom. The soldiers at Valley Forge faced a winter that seemed endless. The snow covered the ground, and the bitter wind made every task harder. Even simple chores like gathering firewood, melting snow for water, or keeping the fire alive required effort and teamwork. Food was scarce, and many men grew weak from hunger, yet they carried on, determined to survive. Each day tested their patience and strength, but they understood that enduring the hardships was part of the fight for independence. Washington moved among the men daily, offering encouragement and guidance. He spoke calmly but firmly, reminding them of their mission and the importance of staying united. His presence gave hope to soldiers who were tired, sick, or cold. They knew he shared their burdens and would do everything possible to keep them safe. Washington's care and leadership inspired loyalty, helping the men push through even the darkest days. Baron von Steuben's training played a critical role in improving the army. He worked with small groups, teaching proper drills, formation, and military tactics. The soldiers struggled at first, but step by step, they gained confidence and skill. Training created order and focus in the camp, giving men a sense of purpose beyond merely surviving the cold. It also strengthened cooperation, as each man learned to rely on the others during exercises. Gradually, the army transformed into a disciplined and organized force. Every soldier contributed to daily survival. Sharing blankets, splitting meager rations, and caring for sick comrades became part of their routine. These acts of solidarity helped maintain morale and reminded everyone that they were not alone in facing the winter. Trust, loyalty, and teamwork grew stronger with each passing day. The men learned that survival depended on helping one another and staying united, no matter how difficult the conditions. Washington continued to communicate with Congress, requesting supplies, clothing, and food. He carefully planned for the army's needs while also tending to the men's morale. His leadership combined strategy with empathy, showing that caring for people was as important as any military plan. Soldiers respected this balance, which strengthened their trust and willingness to follow his guidance. As the winter progressed, the army gradually adapted. Soldiers became more resilient, capable, and prepared to face challenges ahead. Their shared hardships created bonds that went beyond ordinary friendship. They were no longer just a group of men enduring cold and hunger; they were a united army, ready for the battles to come. Valley Forge became more than a winter camp; it was a place of growth, discipline, and perseverance. The soldiers' endurance taught them courage, teamwork, and determination. The struggles of those months left an enduring lesson. True strength comes from persistence, unity, and the willingness to sacrifice for a greater cause. The army that emerged from Valley Forge was stronger, ready to continue the fight for freedom, and prepared to face any challenge together. The winter at Valley Forge was harsh, and every day brought new struggles. Soldiers woke to icy winds, snow-covered ground, and freezing temperatures. Many were tired, hungry, or sick, yet they continued their duties without complaint. Tasks like maintaining shelters, gathering firewood, and keeping fires alive required teamwork and determination. Every small effort mattered, and the men learned to survive together, relying on each other to face the cold and uncertainty. Washington remained a steady figure in the camp. He moved among the soldiers, listening to their concerns and offering encouragement. His calm and focused presence reassured the men. They respected his dedication and leadership, knowing that he shared in their hardships. Washington reminded them that the fight for independence required perseverance, and their sacrifices would help build a future of freedom and justice. Training under Baron von Steuben continued despite the cold and harsh conditions. Soldiers learned formations, drills, and military tactics, gradually improving their skills and confidence. The training helped them focus on something beyond survival and created a sense of order in the camp. Each man relied on his comrades to perform correctly, which strengthened teamwork and unity. Step by step, the army became more disciplined and prepared for future battles. Daily life required cooperation. Soldiers shared blankets, food, and clothing to make sure everyone survived. Those who were ill or weak received help from their fellow soldiers. Small acts of kindness and support helped maintain morale and reminded everyone that they were not alone. The men learned the value of solidarity, realizing that survival depended on trust and mutual care. Washington also wrote to Congress, requesting supplies and support for the army. His leadership balanced strategy with concern for the soldiers' well-being. He made sure every detail, from food to clothing to medical care, was considered. This approach inspired loyalty and strengthened the men's confidence in his guidance. Leadership meant both planning and empathy, and Washington demonstrated both consistently. As the winter progressed, the soldiers adapted to the hardships. They became stronger, more resilient, and more confident in their abilities. Shared challenges built unity and trust among the men. By spring, the army had transformed into a capable, disciplined, and determined force, ready to face the British with courage and skill. Valley Forge became more than a winter camp, it became a place of growth and resilience. The army endured extreme cold, hunger, and disease, yet emerged stronger and united. The lessons learned in those difficult months showed the importance of teamwork, perseverance, and shared sacrifice. The winter tested the soldiers' strength, patience, and courage, but it also prepared them for the battles ahead. The experience left a lasting legacy. Enduring hardships together builds character, unity, and readiness for any challenge. The winter at Valley Forge was long and difficult, and every day brought new challenges for the soldiers. The snow and cold made even simple tasks exhausting. Food was limited, and illness spread through the camp, leaving many men weak. Despite these hardships, the soldiers continued their work, understanding that survival required effort and cooperation. They built shelters, tended fires, and shared responsibilities to make life a little more bearable. Every small action mattered, and the men learned to depend on each other to face the harsh conditions. Washington remained present among the troops, walking through the camps and offering encouragement. He listened to the men's concerns, provided guidance, and reminded them of the larger mission they were serving. His calm determination gave the soldiers hope. They respected his leadership, knowing that he shared in their struggles and cared deeply for their well-being. Washington's presence inspired confidence, reminding them that perseverance and courage were essential to achieving freedom. Training continued under Baron von Steuben, even in the bitter cold. Soldiers learned new drills, formations, and tactical movements that made them more effective in battle. At first, the exercises were difficult, but gradually the men became more disciplined and confident. The training gave structure to the long, challenging days and helped the soldiers focus on building skills that would save lives in the future. It also reinforced teamwork, as every man had to rely on the others to perform correctly. Step by step, the army transformed into a more capable and united force. Daily life in the camp required cooperation and care. Soldiers shared their scarce food, clothing, and blankets. Those who were sick or injured received help from their comrades. These small acts of support kept morale alive and reminded the men that they were not alone. The experience taught the importance of solidarity and trust. Soldiers discovered that endurance was not just physical, it also came from helping and supporting one another. Washington's letters to Congress emphasized the need for supplies and assistance, showing his constant concern for the army. His leadership combined practical planning with empathy, making sure that the soldiers' needs were met while keeping them focused on the greater goal. His care for the men inspired loyalty and reinforced the sense of purpose in the camp. As the winter went on, the soldiers grew stronger, more resilient, and better prepared for the challenges ahead. The shared struggles created bonds that would last long after the cold months ended. By spring, the Army had developed discipline, unity, and confidence, ready to face the enemy with skill and courage. Valley Forge became a symbol of perseverance, cooperation, and sacrifice. The soldiers' courage and resilience showed that even the harshest hardships could be overcome through determination, teamwork, and commitment to a greater cause. Their experience left a lasting lesson. Enduring challenges together strengthens character and prepares people for whatever lies ahead. The winter at Valley Forge tested every soldier in the Continental Army. Cold winds and heavy snow made daily life a constant struggle. Men faced hunger, illness, and exhaustion, yet they continued their duties with determination. Every day required effort, gathering firewood, maintaining shelters, and caring for one another. Even small tasks became vital for survival, and the soldiers learned to rely on teamwork to endure the harsh conditions. Each action, no matter how minor, contributed to the Army's ability to continue the fight for independence. Washington stayed close to his men, walking through the camps and offering support. He listened to their concerns and gave advice, showing that leadership included care and understanding. His calm and steady presence inspired confidence, reminding the soldiers that their efforts were meaningful. The men respected him not just for his strategy but also for sharing in their hardships. His leadership encouraged perseverance, showing that courage meant continuing forward despite difficulty. Training remained a key focus under Baron von Steuben. The soldiers practiced drills, formations, and tactics, gradually improving their discipline and effectiveness. At first, many struggled with the exercises, but repeated practice built skill and confidence. The training gave structure to long, cold days, helping the men focus beyond survival and prepare for future battles. It also reinforced cooperation, as each man had to work with others to succeed. Slowly, the Army became more disciplined, organized, and capable. Daily life required collaboration and support. Soldiers shared what little food and clothing they had, helping those who were sick or weak. Simple acts of kindness, passing blankets, carrying supplies, or assisting with chores, helped maintain morale and strengthen bonds among the men. They learned that survival depended on unity and trust, and that facing hardship together built resilience. Washington's letters to Congress emphasized the Army's needs, asking for supplies and support. His leadership balanced strategic planning with concern for the well-being of every soldier. By attending to both practical and emotional needs, he inspired loyalty and strengthened the Army's sense of purpose. The soldiers understood that their sacrifices were recognized and valued, which motivated them to endure the harsh winter. As the weeks passed, the men grew stronger and more resilient. Shared hardships created deep bonds and built a sense of unity. By the arrival of spring, the Army had transformed into a more disciplined, capable, and determined force. They were ready to face the British with confidence, skill, and courage. Valley Forge became a symbol of perseverance, sacrifice, and the power of teamwork. The soldiers' courage and dedication showed that even the toughest hardships could be overcome through persistence, cooperation, and commitment to a greater cause. Their experience left a lasting lesson. Enduring challenges together strengthens character, fosters unity, and prepares people to overcome any obstacle in pursuit of freedom. The soldiers at Valley Forge faced one of the hardest winters in American history. Snow and ice covered the ground, and freezing winds made every task difficult. Many men were hungry, sick, or exhausted, yet they continued to perform their duties. They gathered firewood, repaired shelters, and helped each other survive. Even small acts, like sharing blankets or assisting a comrade, became crucial for enduring the harsh conditions. Each day tested their patience and strength, but the men understood that their perseverance was necessary for the larger cause of freedom. Washington remained a steady and encouraging presence. He walked through the camps, speaking with soldiers and offering guidance. His calm leadership inspired confidence and hope. The men respected him for his ability to stay composed under pressure and for his dedication to their well-being. His presence reminded them that their hardships were part of something greater than themselves and that their sacrifices mattered. Soldiers drew strength from his example and continued to face the cold and hunger with determination. Training under Baron von Steuben continued despite the harsh conditions. Soldiers practiced drills, formations, and tactics, gradually improving their skills. The exercises were challenging, but they helped the men focus and build confidence. Training also encouraged cooperation, as every soldier depended on others to perform correctly. Over time, the army became more organized, disciplined, and prepared for future battles. Daily life at Valley Forge required teamwork and compassion. Soldiers shared meager food, clothing, and supplies. Those who were sick or weak received help from their comrades. Small gestures of care kept morale alive and strengthened the bonds between men. Through these experiences, soldiers learned that unity and trust were essential for survival. They discovered that perseverance was not only physical endurance but also supporting one another through difficulties. Washington's letters to Congress continued to stress the Army's needs, including supplies, clothing, and food. His leadership balanced strategic planning with concern for the men's welfare. By addressing both practical and emotional needs, he inspired loyalty and maintained the Army's focus on the mission. Soldiers felt that their sacrifices were recognized and valued, which motivated them to endure the hardships of winter. As the weeks passed, the Army grew stronger, more resilient, and more confident. Shared struggles built trust and unity. By spring, the soldiers were disciplined, capable, and ready to face the British. The winter had tested their limits but also prepared them for the challenges ahead. Valley Forge became a symbol of perseverance, sacrifice, and teamwork. The soldiers' courage and dedication showed that enduring hardship together strengthens character and unity. Their experience left a lasting lesson. True strength comes from persistence, cooperation, and commitment to a greater cause. The army that emerged from Valley Forge was ready to continue the fight for freedom, stronger and more determined than ever. The winter at Valley Forge pushed the Continental Army to its limits. Soldiers faced freezing temperatures, snow-covered grounds, and relentless winds. Many were ill, injured, or weak from hunger, yet they continued their work without complaint. They built shelters, gathered firewood, and tended fires, doing everything possible to survive. Small acts of cooperation, like sharing blankets or assisting comrades, became essential. Each day tested their endurance, but the men understood that their efforts were part of the greater fight for independence and freedom. Washington remained a calm and steady presence among the troops. He walked through the camps, listened to concerns, and offered guidance. His leadership inspired hope, showing that perseverance and courage were necessary to achieve their mission. Soldiers respected him for enduring hardships alongside them and for remaining focused on their shared goal. His presence reminded them that their sacrifices were meaningful and that the struggle for liberty required strength, patience, and unity. Training continued under Baron von Steuben, who worked with soldiers on formations, drills, and tactics. At first, many struggled, but practice built confidence and skill. Training gave structure to the long, harsh days and helped the men prepare for the challenges ahead. It also encouraged teamwork, as each soldier had to rely on others to execute commands correctly. Gradually, the army became more disciplined, effective, and capable of facing the enemy with greater skill. Daily life in the camp required cooperation and care. Soldiers shared scarce food, clothing, and supplies to ensure that everyone survived. Those who were sick or weak received help from their comrades. Simple acts of kindness strengthened morale and created bonds among the men. They learned that survival depended on unity, trust, and supporting one another. Endurance was not just physical but also about helping each other through difficult times. Washington continued to write to Congress, requesting necessary supplies and support. His leadership combined careful planning with concern for the well-being of every soldier. This approach inspired loyalty and maintained the Army's focus on their larger mission. Soldiers felt valued and understood that their perseverance mattered, which motivated them to keep going despite the hardships of winter. As the season progressed, the men grew stronger, more resilient, and more disciplined. The shared experience of hardship forged lasting bonds and a sense of unity. By spring, the Army had transformed into a capable, organized, and determined force, ready to face the British with confidence. Valley Forge became a lasting symbol of endurance, sacrifice, and the power of teamwork. The soldiers' courage showed that even the most difficult challenges could be overcome through perseverance and cooperation. The winter taught valuable lessons about strength, unity, and commitment to a greater cause. Those who endured together emerged stronger, ready to continue the fight for freedom, and prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead.